Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Melika. We're going to be looking at Matthew 27, 14 to 20. Matthew 27, 14 to 20 reads, "And he answered him to never a word, insomuch that the governor marveled greatly. Now at that feast the governor was wont to release unto the people a prisoner whom they would. And they had then a notable prisoner called Barabbas. Therefore when they were gathered together, Pilate said unto them, Whom will ye that I release unto you, Barabbas or Jesus, which is called Christ? For he knew that for envy they had delivered him. When he was set down on the judgment seat, his wife sent unto him, saying, Have thou nothing to do with that just man? For I have suffered many things this day in a dream because of him. But the chief priests and elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask Barabbas and destroy Jesus." So it ends in verse 20. In this study, I want to first note that I begin this study at 9:11. You can begin the study at 9:11 to the 9:11 Midnight Cry Sunday Law. But you can also begin the study at midnight Cry Sunday Law. I want to look and think about the feasts. There are many feasts that happen. When you think that there's a feast at 9:11, there's a feast at the Midnight Cry, there's a feast at the Sunday Law. At 9:11, I'd like to think that there's a Passover feast. When Christ is crucified in AD 31, which could be the Sunday Law, there's a Feast of Tabernacles. Then I can look at what is going on here in 14 to 20. They say that Barabbas is a notable prisoner. When you look at the name Barabbas, it means a son of the Father. So they're taking the son of the Father, Barabbas, and they're putting him next to Christ, who also calls himself the Son of the Father. And he says, when you see me, you've seen my Father who is in heaven. So you see two sons of the Fathers here, Barabbas, the son of the Father, and Christ, the Son of the Father. When you look at the American president today, post 2020, you see that after the election, the person who won the election was Joseph. And his president, Joseph Biden. And you can look at President Joseph Biden, you can see that what is happening in the church is happening also in the world. When President Joseph Biden is a type of me, for example, as a moth, but he's a type of the message that came in 2020. You can see that the messages that came in 2020 are a type of the messages of Joseph. A Joseph who is going to come during the time of famine and become a person who helps in the time of famine, Egypt, so that Egypt does not go hungry. So it almost feels like when they say a notable prisoner, when they say Christ, then they mean the messages of 2020 and the messenger being the moth, and President Joseph Biden being Barabbas, the son of the Father, and Christ being the moth, or me being the son or the daughter of the Father. When I haven't said that the Father is God, because President Joseph Biden is also a believer in God. He believes in Christ, in Jesus Christ. So I could say that I'm a daughter of the Father, but my father could be Jeff Pippinger, could be Father Jeff. So as he's the daughter of the Father, could be the daughter of the Father being Rome. And I could be actually the daughter of Jeff when before they kicked me out of the movement. And then you find that 2023 comes, I have to turn my face against them. I have to turn my face against my own father, physical father, and become the daughter of the father, and he becomes the son of the father. So you see that there are two Barabbases here. The two Barabbases is President Joseph Biden and the moth, which is me. And I become the daughter of the father, and he becomes a son of the father, which means there are two Christs that we haven't spoken about. The first Christ being a type of President Joseph Biden in the church, and the second Christ typifying me as a daughter of the Father, or the daughter of the Father, which is in the church, being the daughter of the Father. I feel like I'm repeating this over and over again, because now I'm thinking about it and it makes sense. You look at the timeline then, and you see that when it moves from 9/11, Midnight Cry, Sunday Law, you see that first is scourged, first goes into trial, and in the insect phase, as almost feels like the Sunday Law, the son of the father, the son of the father being Jeff. While I was kicked out, someone else took up the reins. Other people took up the reins, and they became the sons and the daughters of Jeff. Those are the sons and the daughters of the prophetic movement with a prophetic message for a specific time. And I became a moth in Rome along with President Joseph Biden. You can see that the son of the father then gets his own test after us who are in the world, and he gets his own test in the 2030s, and in the 2040s the daughter of the father gets her own test, or their own test, in the 2040s to show and typify what has happened to me as a daughter of the father in Rome. So you can see here that from 9/11 to the Midnight Cry, Barabbas, you can see Barabbas, that being the son of the father along with the daughter of the father. And you can see that the Midnight Cry to the Sunday Law, there's Barabbas there too, and you can see that it's the son of the father and the daughter of the father there too. When you look at the world today, you can see that at the forefront it's very evident the errors and the criminal activities that President Joseph Biden has done. When they push in front of the media criminal activities such as the drugs with his son Hunter, and other criminal activities with some money and everything. And when you look at my personal life and the entourage that came here, they want to push forward messages and everything that has happened in my life with my job and my freelance problems and everything that has happened, which today I do not know. There is one incident that I think about when I was working for a person who is American, and that person is American. She would tell me to maybe appropriate money to her account and all sorts of those dealing, which today I do not actually know whether that person is a scammer or not. But a police officer called me, and I knew that they were trying to make me a criminal. They were trying to push those activities to being activities that I've done when I was being a freelancer working for a person, and that police officer did not state ever any phone calls that he had investigated, as he sounded as if he was an investigator, and all these other accounts of these people who personally are still receiving money appropriated to them for services rendered to the person who's American. That officer does not talk about those people and whether or not he does know and has investigated them over years and years of this person working and appropriating money to those people were pretty much the same people over and over and over again. But here I stand in 2021 and 2022, and I looked as if I was a scammer, a criminal. It made things worse when I got a certificate from Harvard, CS50, and it was in fact a programming certificate. And they started saying I was hacking their phones on Facebook, as those girls from Adventism who I thought were my friends saw leaks of people's images and videos of them masturbating on Facebook, and they would say that I'm the one who's leaking those. I'm the one hacking into their phones because I want to know what they're doing. It was pushed further because I then later on 2023 studied ethical hacking, and it was pushed further as them trying to prove with this entourage that I'm a criminal, the same as President Joseph Biden, when they were trying to prove that he's a criminal, and therefore with our criminal activities they're trying to prove that I do not deserve to have the glory of the messages that I have and the money that comes with it because I'm a criminal. So they blocked me here on my social media accounts, and I ended up sleeping at home sick the entire time because every single day I was being pushed for them to want me to agree to what they were alleging me of, and they had the allegation saying that I'm a criminal, that those messages are not my messages, and not only that, but the money that I say came from those messages, not my money, and they wanted me to prove that it's not, and they wanted me to agree with them, and I do not agree with them. Those were my messages, and the money that came from those messages is money that helps me, because unfortunately when someone looks at a message that runs like that, and you look at a social media account, my social media accounts are aided by the destructive work that happened with when those messages are fulfilled. So the money and the running of the accounts and everything has happened because of the fulfillment of those messages is my money too. So when they blocked me using their demons and they diverted it to themselves, and they were trying to eat me over things they knew about me, my family, my friends, my incompetencies and my failures at school, and my passings, and my personality in general, whether or not I'm a quiet or loud person, things that have nothing to do with the message they want to rob, because the message they want to rob had nothing to do with whether or not I was incompetent or competent at school. It had nothing to do with my family, and it had nothing to do with my financial stand. But they want to use the things that they know have already happened that had nothing to do with the message to prove that they are better off with the messages than I am. He's a notable prisoner, which means during this time, 2021-2024, President Joseph Biden was compromised, and I was put as a prisoner. And I couldn't get a job, and I couldn't go anywhere when I'm supposed to be adorned as a woman who's ready for marriage. And not only that, because Esther didn't receive an income in Shushan, but she was comfortable. She was very happy, and I was sick here the entire time, and my face, my countenance was changed the entire time to prove that not only are they robbing me of my messages, but they are robbing me of my experience of being the Esther that my messages are calling me out to be. So he's the son of the father, and I become the daughter of the Father. Which means that this marriage that I'm entering into as Esther is not just a wicked marriage because of Ahasuerus, but it is also a wicked marriage because I then have become an insect and not a person coming from the movement. So Mordecai would have been Jeff Pippinger if I was coming straight from the movement, but Mordecai now turns around and it becomes someone else. It becomes David the anointed, David being Christ, or David being my husband, who's gonna be my husband when I get married. There is envy. You can see envy here. So I want to put this at 9/11 because 9/11 is the second angel's message coming from 1989. The midnight cry is the second angel's message, empowered, and the Sunday law is the third angel's message. The verse said Christ is a just man. So you want to see here that the messages are just and true. So Christ is a just man. So you see that from the midnight to the midnight cry, even at the midnight cry from 2025, you will see that the men who are carrying a gospel or messages that are called Christ, are men who are just. The chiefs, priests, and elders could be the leaders of Adventism. It could also be pontiffs and bishops. So Christ is destroyed. The destruction of Christ is the destruction of Jerusalem. You can see that when he's destroyed in his temple, it also shows what is going to happen in the city of Jerusalem. When he says, "Do not cry for me and what is happening to me, cry for you and your children," because he could see that what was going to happen in Jerusalem in AD 70 was going to be far worse than what was happening to him in AD 31 in his body. When we look at the building of the temple, we want to look at the story of Ezra. So I hope in my next studies I look at Ezra 7:9 and I just look at the story of Ezra from his decree when he gets it from Artaxerxes to go and rebuild Jerusalem. And we look at the decrees of Cyrus, Darius, and Artaxerxes in the rebuilding of Jerusalem, because we want to see when this temple, this body temple, is being rebuilt, and this body temple, or the destruction of the literal temple being a church or a building, where the building then becomes in the body temple, when we ourselves become the Ezras of this day, and we build our temples using proper nutrition and exercise and all these laws that we get from nutrition and understanding of how our bodies work, we can use that and build our bodies, so that while our bodies are being built, and we put the nourishment in our bodies, then those temples where literal buildings are being destroyed, we're also participating in a work of building while those buildings are being destroyed. If you like prophecy, like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. I hope to see you in the next video.